Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof. We have a huge weekend of racing up ahead for you. We've also had a very informative week of racing at Newmarket with the Craven that was won by Cool Company, the Nell Gwyn that was won by a Sailor, and Fadan well and truly had his bubble burst in the free handicap. He will not be going to the 2,000 guineas anymore, and they'll be looking more towards Royal Ascot with Fadan. We have two very big classic trials coming up at Newbury this weekend, which sees the return of Ivorwood in the Greenham, and also sees the return of Tiggy Wiggy in the Fred Darling. You remember in the Greenham last year, Kingman beat Night of Thunder. They went on to fill those places in the 2,000 guineas 2 weeks later. To cover the racing with me this evening is the one and only Adam Webb. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you. At least I've got a voice this week compared to last week where I sounded extremely hoarse, if you pardon the pun.
Yes, it's not a huge positive, that bit, actually.
Well, not for you it's not, but for me, last week, well, I had a sore throat for the whole week, and I was getting to the point where I thought I wasn't going to be able to speak, but luckily my voice came back every morning, but then you get to the evening and my voice would just go downhill, so it was, yeah, I've had a week to recover, so...
And, well, talking of that week, we'll start off with it. The Grand National last week, what did we make of it?
It nearly was a disaster, obviously, with Balthazar King falling and the screens being up. Now, I'll tell a story here. Well, I was stood with super fan and mega fan, and obviously the screens went up, and it was the Racing UK camera, and I thought, please move him, because out of respect to the horse, just move him off the track, because it's a canal turn, it's such a difficult obstacle to negotiate round. So you can imagine I was a little bit surprised when they actually went round the fence. I'm thinking, hang on, just move the horse, because I obviously thought he was a goner. So you can imagine about 20 minutes later when I get a text from Luke and it says Balthazar King's up, I just couldn't believe it. That's the main success from the race, I will say that. All horses came back safe. I'm not going to say sound, but Balthazar King looked in good health this week. I've been seeing photographs of him. The result of the race itself, many clouds. A horse I've got wrong all season. I said he wouldn't stay in the Hennessy. I said he'd be bottomed in the Argento. I got him right in the Gold Cup. I didn't think he'd be, quote, good enough. But in the National, he jumped, he travelled, he stayed, he did everything right. And he could be the first horse in a very long time you could actually consider. I think the first since Hedge Hunter that you could properly consider as a horse that could go back and defend his title. I think he could win another National, because he's only going to carry a pound more in the weights. And next year, you could have the likes of Silviniaco Conti heading the weights, which you keep the weights down for him. He could go have a huge chance in future Nationals.
Talking of horses that came back to defend their crown and had a really realistic chance, Hedge Hunter ran well in a couple of Nationals. Bala Briggs also ran well in two Nationals. Trevor Hemmings seems to have this down, I think.
Yeah, Trevor Hemmings loves this race. It was his decision to run many clouds as well. And it was a decision that had a couple of people questioning whether it was the right one. But fair play to Trevor, he got it right. Oliver Sherwood on the day, what was it? It's not my decision to run the horse. I wouldn't be running him. And it was like, shows what I know. That's it. Also, say about Oliver Sherwood, in the interview afterwards as well, because I wasn't watching live, the first thing he said was, "Where's my horse? Is he okay?" And the amount of crap, and I'll say the word crap, that I read in the last week about the sport from various
I wanted to touch on that, really, because I thought last weekend the sport covered itself in total glory. I thought, from Channel 4's pictures, we had many clouds after the race. He gave his lad a bit of a seeing to and floored him. So that was a little bit for the comedic effect. Then the big tradition, obviously, horse goes into the winner's enclosure, gets applauded. But because the horse wasn't right, many clouds you could see was having a little bit of a wobble. He was overheating a bit. He was being drowned in water just to make sure he's okay. You can see the amount of affection, care that the horses get, how well Aintree have done with their horse welfare. And then for Leighton Aspel to walk back in on his own, the horse didn't even go into the winner's enclosure. He went straight to the sort of cooling area. Again, got doused in more water, left in open air and allowed to recover in his own time. They spoke to the lass as well, and she said, that's nothing out of the ordinary, that he always does this. The only time he hasn't done it is at Cheltenham. Just had a little bit of a wobble after a race and a bit of a scare. I thought, to the outsider, really well done. Really well done to Aintree as well, because they've got their horse welfare system in absolutely spot on right now.
Can I also say well done to Channel 4 as well, because they've had their critics over the last couple of years with the new format. But I thought the coverage last week, even though I didn't watch it live, I watched it back when I got home each night, and I thought Channel 4 did an amazing job last week. Nick Luck is an anchor as well. I've got to say, there was outsiders that could have got the role, but Nick Luck did an amazing job last week, and fair play to Channel 4 for actually letting him do it. I thought he did a great job. So
yeah, it's not just saying this as a broadcaster as well. From an outsider, a horse racing fan, he did a superb job, and you have to applaud him for that. It must have been fairly hard having other people sort of in line for the job that you do week in, week out. But no, well done to him. There was a sad undertone to it. We lost Seedling on the Saturday in a novice hurdle, and we also lost Boulder Success a few days after the meeting. He had a fall in the Melling Chase, which proved fatal in the end. But with every cloud, there's a silver lining. His full sister was born on the Saturday, I think it was, that we actually lost Boulder Success. But there's also been huge support on Twitter, and we have to mention this as well. Animal Aid and the Green Party as well, quite disgracefully actually, the Green Party have come out and they've started slating the sport, slating the animals, using completely incorrect facts, saying 400, we use their quote, 400 race-horsing animals. I have no idea what that means. I honestly have no idea what that means. Are raced to death per year, which is completely infactual. It's completely moronic to say that. But if they actually looked into racing, and we'll mention the name, Steve Ayres, he's part of a very select group of stable lads and lasses that take care of their horses. But the amount of love that guy had for Boulder Success, and Boulder Success was looked after brilliantly. He had an absolute devoted best friend in the shape of Steve. I think everyone on Twitter saw Steve's tweets and they were absolutely heartbroken about it. I mean, even if you didn't know the horse, even if you weren't really a fan of the horse, it was really hard to keep a lump from appearing in your throat and a few tears from trickling down your face. But we just have to put it out there. The amount of love that the stable lads and lasses have for their horses, it's nothing short of phenomenal. I'll never understand it personally because I'm not in their shoes. But from a racing fan, it's horrible. And it's even worse to have someone slate the work that they do. Because the likes of Caroline Lucas, Natalie Bennett, they're going to be putting forward that the stable lads and lasses are helping race these horses to death, which in essence is absolute nonsense in the nicest term of the word. I'm using very choice wording there, but it's absolute nonsense. And as racing fans, like me and yourself and you guys watching at home, we do have to put out there sincere condolences to connections of Boulder Success and to Seedling as well. As it left a bit of a sour taste for the Aintree meeting, but all in all, I think it was a bit of a huge success and a meeting that really does mean so much to horse racing. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. I mean, Natalie Bennett's comments about the Grand National just summed up what ideas they have. What was it? I didn't watch the Grand National. I didn't know it was on, yet they want to review it. That speaks volumes for me. As for Boulder Success, he's a horse that I've said in the past that I got completely wrong. I didn't think he'd make a chaser. And his progression through his novice chases. I mean, Steve has watched our show in the past and he's tweeted in quite frequently as well. So it's like, I feel like I've been part of the story. That's the thing with Twitter and him. He's made us feel like we're a part of the horse's daily life. And you saw him when he won. When I saw him when he won at Chepstow in his first novice chase, I watched Steve cheer him home. And I've seen him time and again. I mean, even you crept into a photo in the background after he won at Kempton. Your face in the background. The
thing, I spoke to Steve, it was after, I think, the Pendle, when he won at Kempton. I think Alice Plunkett interviewed him on Channel 4, and he was just in floods of tears. It meant so much to him. And I spoke to him, I think, about a week later, and he said, or it might have been a couple of weeks later when Boulder next ran, but he said, I hope I don't cry like an idiot again on TV. Again, but I'm not promising anything.
He did it at Aintree when Boulder won the Grade 1 novice.
Yeah, exactly.
It shows the care that these stable lads and lasses have. I saw on Thursday when Arctic Fire fell at the last, I saw his lad sprint down the track to be with him, and I thought that was a worst case scenario. Luckily, he got up and is able to fight another day. So even
with AP in the interview just after the Aintree hurdle that Alice Plunkett did with him on board Jeski, first questions were, is Ruby okay? Is the horse okay? What's going on? Do we know? Is everything okay? Because he could see the screens up. He probably saw the fall out of the corner of his eye. But no, that's last week. That's been and gone now. I think racing.
One more point. the jockey cam, fantastic. And my favourite moment of the week came with the jockey cam and Aidan Coleman, who got thrown off Benny's missing the Topham, gets up, oh, I'll go and catch another horse. Oh, there's my lad. You're right, Benny. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. I think, again, actually, I think that was another well done to Channel 4 again. I mean, I can't really sing their praise enough. They've been slated in the past. Yeah, exactly. They did absolutely superbly.
Nathan Horrocks, who's many clouds work rider, and did the jockey cam. Leighton Aspel wore the jockey cam. 2 in 1.
Yeah. Good job. Well done. But I don't want to call them say outsiders, but people that aren't as into the sport as we are, as myself and yourself and you guys watching at home. I think the sport covered itself very, very well. Hopefully we'll have another productive weekend here as well from Newbury and from Ayr on Channel 4. As always, you can get in touch with the show. But what did you think of last week from Aintree, and what do you think of the weekend coming up at Newbury and Ayr? You can tweet us at On The Other Hoof. We'll read out every single opinion, question, fancy at the end of the show, and we'll tell you what we think of your fancies. And if we fancy them, we can only apologise for that. We're going to move on to the first race now that we're going to cover. That's been probably the longest intro that we've done, actually, Adam.
Deserved, though. Definitely deserved.
Very deserved. But we're going to start off with the 145 from Newbury, the Dubai Duty Free Finest Surprise, registered as the John Porter Stakes, a Group 3 over 1 mile 4 furlongs, and an all-important 5 yards that Cubanita won last year. Cubanita actually beat Noble Mission in this race last year. It was a bit of a weird result, that one, we'll say that. But 8 horses going to post this time around. We have the return of the very exciting Arab Spring taking on Romsdal, who was 3rd in the Epsom Derby last year, Adam. Would either of them, those two, pick your fancy?
Yeah. Arab Spring, interestingly, I didn't know this until earlier today. I got Mark Howard's Ahead of Black 2015 guide. And at Newmarket, he was really disappointing, but he did a suspensory that day. So that's why we didn't see him again. He isn't my fancy here. I think he's going to need this. And it was said in the book as well that he's going to need a bit of time just to get going. And I know he's gone well fresh in the past, but at this level, I think he's going to need this run. A really nice horse, and he will go on to progress and hopefully to be a Group 1 standard. I said to you off there that Romsdal didn't really impress me at Kempton. It was probably because of the way he went round both bends. He came off the bend each time. He looked a little awkward, a bit like a precocious 2-year-old on their first start. But the manner in which he actually did it was impressive in the end. And a step back up in trip will definitely help him. Obviously, he was runner-up in the St. Leger to Kingston Hill. Winshire and Scotland also reopposed from that race as well. And Romsdal should go on and progress this year. And at this trip and maybe even over further. Winshire won well last time out, but I get the impression with him that he could be one down the line maybe for the Melbourne Cup from what they were saying last time out. I think he'd be the main danger to Romsdal. Of the rest, I think Pevers Moon is going to need this. He'll need this first outing. Red Galileo, what's he doing over 1.5 miles? He doesn't stay 1.5 miles. He's just one of them horses, isn't he, Red Galileo? He's going to crop up somewhere. And I wonder if Callum thinks Aussie Reigns is an each-way price. He said all last season. Always does. We'll find out later on if he's an each-way price. Scotland, I think, will need the run, but he's one that's going to be interesting when he goes up in trip. So my idea of the winner, oh God, why is the dog going mental? And your likely winner is going to be Romsdal. I'll just sort her out. Won't be.
It's a shame that I've been left alone for here. I apologise for that. I can only apologise for what Adam was saying about Romsdal. He ran over 1.2 miles last time. That probably isn't his preferred trip. It definitely isn't his preferred trip, actually. So stepping back up to a more galloping track like Newbury over 1.5 miles, I think that will suit him down to the ground. Also, he's got the added edge that over Arab Spring and over Winshire. Well, not over Winshire, actually. That's complete nonsense. But over Arab Spring, he's race fit. He's already had a run this season. Arab Spring, I think, will definitely need it tomorrow off the back of a 282-day absence. Winshire at this level, I just feel is a bit of a bridesmaid, if I'm perfectly honest. Was second a lot last year. Won nicely on his return at Doncaster, but it wasn't the strongest of races. And you'd hope a horse rated 112 would be and a horse with a lot of promise as well, would be disposing of his rivals that day in much better style than he did. So I think 4-1 could potentially be a bit short. However, I do actually like the horse. I've lost quite a substantial amount on him last year. I think we all did, Adam. on Winshire.
I'm back now.
Good.
Yeah, but somebody was at the door, and what the dog likes. Well, she's doing her job. She's whooping at the door. So
yeah, fierce. But Winshire, I can just see being again a bit of a bridesmaid at this level. Arab Spring, I don't have even without the injury, I don't have down as a horse that would be sort of ready for this level first time out. I just think he's a bit of a big horse. I can just see him taking a run or two to get ready. Peddler's Moon, I think he's going to have other plans for this season. I don't think a winning start will be high up on Richard Hannon's list, and also Richard Hughes prefers Winshire. I've got this down to Romsdale, to be honest. I think Romsdale will take all the beating, stepping back up in trip, and Newbury's going to be a course that suits him much better than Kempton did. So for me, I'm with Romsdale. I believe it's the same with you, Adam, yeah?
Yeah, I'm with Romsdale. Just remembering Winshire at Goodwood, that was just...
The less said about that, the better. Let's go on to Ayr. The 2 o'clock at Ayr, and our first visit to the Scottish track. The Jordan Electrics are limited future champions and novices at Chase over 2.5 miles and an extra 110 yards on top of that. It is a grade 2. Only 6 runners arrived here, Adam. I imagine you're going to give Solar Impulse a good mention, because you always give Solar Impulse a good mention.
I do. But last week, he was unlucky in a sense at Aintree. He got absolutely mullered at the cross fence, but then all chance had gone after that. Step up in trip, I'm not sure. I think he's more of an out-and-out 2-miler at this stage. It's called the Future Champions Novices Chase, but I think that's just in name this year. I don't really see many of these going on to be proving to be Grade 1 horses. Oscar Rock is your favourite, and since the blinkers have gone on, he's been a revelation. He's got started over fences this season as well, and I think going over fences has helped him as well. But he's finally beginning to fulfil the promise that he looked to have way back when he won his bumper and his novice hurdle. He's the one to beat here, because I've got doubts about the rest of them. Top Gamble is a ball-jumping front runner, but I think the ground is plenty quick enough for him. Same with Fine Rightly, who won over course and distance in a novice handicap. But on this quicker ground, if it was softer, he would have been the selection, because I've been really impressed with him and his form as well, because he was second to Size in Granite, who went on and won at Aintree last week. Seven Sky is a really consistent horse, but I question now, has he had enough? I know he's kept going well throughout the season, and small fields do suit him, but if he's winning this, fair play to the horse, but I'm just getting to the stage now where I'm beginning to think, is it 1 run too many each time? And I think tomorrow could be 1 run too many. Solar Impulse, I think we'll find the trip not too far for him. I just think he'd be better off at 2 miles rather than 2.5. And he's a type next season I could see starting off as something like the Holden Gold Cup maybe. But he's a sound jumper, but he was disappointing at Aintree after getting knocked out of the cross fence. I think Oscar Rock is your likely winner, though.
Yeah, yes, I'd agree with Oscar Rock. I just want to go back to something that you said there. Sizing Granite.
Yeah.
Not Granite.
Granite, well.
You're going to go for the American angle, are you?
Granite then. Sorry. I'm not American. You know that. Jesus. I don't know what Granite came from.
Just like poison to my ears.
Sorry. I'll speak with an American accent later on.
I'd hold you to that, actually. I'm sure everyone would love to see that. We've already had you sing Barbie Girl on the show. Now we're going to get an American accent.
To be fair, that's not as embarrassing as singing Barbie Girl, though, is it?
No, that was fun.
It really wasn't.
I'm going to start with Top Gamble, who last time out at Ascot, Jamie Moore came out and said that he went way too fast and then he gave him a poor ride and he apologised to everyone. So full credit to him for that. I thought earlier, I was thinking, wow, they've jocked Jamie off. That's really harsh, and put Richard Johnson on. Then I realised that Jamie's kind of broke his leg. So he'd be a bit of a bad jockey booking for this. So that was a negative on my behalf of me being a complete idiot. But I've never really warmed to Top Gamble. I know he's held in really high regard, but I've never really seen the positiveness surrounding him. I mean, he's kept on winning. He's not been winning amazing races. He's been beating nice enough horses, but I don't know. I just want to see him win at this level before I really make a big judgment about him. And I completely agree with you, Adam, about Oscar Rock. I think Malcolm Jefferson's done the right thing in bringing him along slowly. I think that's the kind of horse that he is. He didn't want to be thrown at the deep end. He could have just said, right, okay, I'm going to go towards the RSA. I'm going to go towards the JLT. No, failing that, we're going to go towards Aintree and running in the 2.5 there. But he's slowly brought him along, and I imagine Ayr and this race exactly has been his aim for most of the season. To be honest, he's had a quiet season at that as well, and he's been progressing very, very nicely. I think 11-4 could be a nice enough price about Oscar Rock, who it's really his first time over fences in the deep end tomorrow, running at some nice enough horses. I wanted to touch on Seventh Sky, who last time out defied most people, actually. He'd been in fantastic form all season. He'd been mostly finishing behind Traffic Fluid when second at Plumpton and second at Sandown. The handicapper did relent somewhat for those two runs, however. He was down £4, so he took advantage of that, and in essence was a nicely enough handicapped horse. He goes into the deep end here again with a grade 2. Whether he'll be able to carry that forward into a higher class like this, I'm just a little bit sceptical. I think Fine Rightly also has the ability to go close in a race like this, but I'd be somewhat disappointed really if Oscar Rock wasn't winning this. And it's boring, Adam, but we're both agreeing again.
Oh dear. Well, what happened last week? We agreed on practically every race. Oh, we had a shock last Saturday. Apart from Alvarado each way in the National, it's the only thing I think we got right.
we sucked last week.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Let's go down to Newbury again. The 215 is the Dubai Duty Free Stakes, registered as the Fred Darling, a fillies Group 3, over 7 furlongs. Jay Wonder won this race last year. Do we have any real Guineas candidates in this race, Adam, with the likes of Tiggy Wiggy taking place? Jellicle Ball probably be one for later on in the season, but Tiggy Wiggy is really the horse that this race revolves around, and will she stay?
That's a good question. If she settles, and if her turn of foot is used at the right time, then yes, but I do have my concerns. The concerns I have are they're going to drop her in. How's she going to react to that? I know Richard Hughes said at Newmarket that they dropped her in at Sandown and it worked, but for me, at this stage now, because she's now a tearaway in front and she's able to maintain it, will she handle that tomorrow? Secondly, if she wins this and then goes on to the Guineas, which is a stiff mile, are they going to drop her in again? It's just, I don't know what they're going to do with her. If she doesn't stay tomorrow, then obviously they can come back sprinting, and she'll be very hard to beat in sprints. But then my other concern is, has she trained on from 2 to 3, which is, I've got concerns about. Then again, I think it's the thing that's with me though. Most of Richard Hammond's 2-year-olds, and this is not me saying that Richard Hammond's a bad trainer, I just think he brings his 2-year-olds on more forward then, and then they get to 3, they improve, but then you have other trainers like John Gosden, whose 2-year-olds were going to be 3-year-olds, and they'll improve further because they've had a more patient approach. And that's my way of thinking normally with these 2-year-olds. Apart from Night of Thunder last year, who was twice raced, then turned up in the Greenham against Kingdom, and then went on to win the Guineas. But with Tiggy Wiggy, that is the concerns I've got. Jellicle Ball, her performance at Kempton was really impressive, and the clock says that as well. She was even faster than Tiggy Wiggy in the final 3 furlongs. And her pedigree suggests that she'll want further, but starting out in this race before the Guineas as well, I think is a good way to go with her. I'd probably take her over Tiggy Wiggy, definitely. But then the concern is whether she'll want further, which she probably will. And then she can go on to the Guineas and then onto the Oaks, potentially. Royal Rosalma's one I will touch on. She was a horse we saw win at Goodwood. And I remember it was the one where Callum went, oh, she's a price her. I should back her. And then she went and duly obliged with Callum Sutter going, I didn't back her. No, you didn't, Callum.
Yeah.
She won last time out over 5 at Newmarket. But although in her pedigree it says that she wants to go up in trip, I thought she improved for actually going back down in trip. So the worry there is whether she'll stay or not. I know you're going to talk about Lacing, and that is the other one I'd actually give consideration to in the race. Because apart from the front couple, I don't think it's a very strong Fred Darling. I will go with Jellicle Ball, though.
No, you go back even further through the Fred Darling. It's never usually the strongest of Guineas trials, really. You've got the last 3 winners, J Wonder, Maureen, and Moonstone Magic. They weren't really up to the grade as Guineas horses. Tiggy Wiggy, I'm not saying isn't good enough to run the Guineas. She's more than good enough to run the Guineas, but is she a miler? We'll find a little bit more out tomorrow. But she's also got to adopt to not going all guns blazing from the stalls, which she'll be accustomed to, and that's probably what she'll want to do. So I imagine Richard Hughes will have a good job settling her saying that, if she does stay, she really should be winning this very, very easily. She's at head and shoulders above her opponents tomorrow afternoon. We should also mention Shigar is already a non-runner for Richard Hannon. Frankie Dettori was going to take the ride. The informed Frankie Dettori, we should say, as well. Jellicle Ball, I imagine, will just be having a prep for the Guineas, probably more a tilt at the Oaks as well. I imagine she'll be more prominent at the end of the season for John Gosden. It's interesting that Ryan Moore is booked to take the ride. I think that could be an eye-catching jockey booking. As you mentioned, Adam, my fancy is Lacing. I'm not saying that Lacing is going to win this race. I just think that 16 to 1 each way, I think, could be a really nice bet. She was running in the sales races last year at Newmarket. That was on faster ground. Her first try on softer ground at Newmarket, that was behind Russian Punch, and Shigar was also in that race. She disappointed somewhat and only managed sixth of 8. Sorry, that was beaten 19 lengths. So I forgive that run. Before that, she had some really nice form at Newmarket. She finished only beaten a length and a half by a Sailor. That's nice form because the Sailor's gone on to win the Nell Gwyn this week. So there's just bits and bobs of form about Lacing that would point towards her putting in a decent run tomorrow at Newbury. 16 to 1 for Hannigan on board, I think, could be worth an each way shout. Saying that, for racing, I really want to see Tiggy Wiggy win because I want her to add another bit of pizzazz into the 1,000 Guineas. I mean, both races have taken knocks this week with a few big horses not turning up, and without wanting to put too much of a downer on it, I think both are looking fairly weak at the moment. So we need another star to really put in a big performance this weekend. But for me, I'd side with Lacing each way. I wouldn't really want to put one up to win in this race because Tiggy Wiggy's too short of a price, frankly. And it is a very good each way betting race because we are looking for third place, really. Adam, what was your fancy in that?
Jellicle Ball.
You're going for Jellicle Ball, okay. So you are going for a win one. Kind of stomp on my point.
Yeah, may as well. Well, Jellicle Ball could finish third for all we know, but yeah, she's not an each way price, so
I'd
rather take her over.
Sorry, big news before we got to air. We, on the other hoof, now have 2 goats following us.
Goats?
We've got the goat chaser,
yeah,
who tweeted us earlier, Jermaine.
Yeah.
And we've now got Trevor the goat following us.
Oh, fair enough. Welcome to the goats.
Yeah, welcome, goats. That's just something that excited me a little bit. Just Trevor and Jermaine, we can just make them fight it out. I have to say, Jermaine looks much more like a fighting goat than Trevor does. Trevor looks a bit more like more of a happy-go-lucky guy in his goat picture, but I'd side with Jermaine in a fight on that. But we're going to go back to the serious stuff now. I'm going to talk about Ayr for the 235, the QTS Scottish Champion Hurdle. It's a Grade 2 handicap over 2 miles. 15 horses going to post it, which means we just miss out on getting the first 4 for each way terms. It's a very, very competitive race here, isn't it, Adam? Last year we had My Tent or Yours running in this. Nothing quite of that ilk turning up this year, but we do have some horses that at one point this season were considered champion hurdle hopefuls in the likes of Irving, Bertimont, and Sign of a Victory at one point. Yeah,
I mean, we've got them 3. I mean, at the top of the market, we've got I Shot the Sheriff, who's a favourite. He's in here off a £5 penalty, having won over 2 miles 6 at Fairyhouse. The concern for him is, I know he's won on good to soft ground, but the concern is he going to handle the better ground and over 2 miles as well? And I think there's enough negatives there. I know Tony Martin is an excellent trainer and he likes to lay one out for a race, but I just think this could be asking a bit too much of him, and I think he'll be outpaced. Sign of Victory. Well, when he won in October at Ascot, the world looked at his feet and he did look as though he'd improved, but he just didn't. He went to Kempton behind Faheen and disappointed. Went to Wincanton and disappointed behind Blue Heron. He finally gets good ground again, but I'm not convinced by him. And he could easily go and win tomorrow, but he's just one that I'd want to steer clear of. I also want to steer clear of the Paul Nicholls pairing of Irving and Calypto. Irving, I know he's top weight, he deserves to be respected, but Blue Heron beat him fair and square on that occasion. And Irving's jumping at times can be interesting, we'll say. He has made a couple of mistakes in the past, and I also think he wants it to be a tad softer. Calypso, just for me, hasn't really gone on this year. I know he ran all right in the Betfair, but at Sandown he ran a complete shocker and is one that I don't really trust now. The selection, is a horse that actually did run in the champion hurdle in Bertimont, who, fair play to him, I got him wrong at the start of the season. When he won at Chepstow in that absolute farce of a race, I said the handicapper put him up too much, for essentially he poached the lead and they didn't come back to him. But he's not done much wrong. I mean, he's second in the elite, looked like he was going to beat the new one at Haydock in the champion hurdle trial, and wasn't disgraced at all in the champion hurdle. I think that off 151, it's a tough mark to win off, but with question marks about most in the field, I think that he could be the one here, especially around Ayr on quick ground. This type of track would suit him well, and I think he's quite a big price here, actually. I'll talk about a couple of others. Roman Flight on better ground I give a chance to, but his last run was disappointing. And the other one I did consider is Handiwork, with Sean Bowen claiming 3. I said to you after he was second at Haydock, he'd be one that I'd consider for the Aintree Conditionals handicap, but instead he went to Musselburgh on the flat, and now he's here, and I think 20s at an each-way price. I think he's one that's interesting, especially because I had him down for that Aintree handicap, and Astra de la Corrie's at 4 miles with him as well. So 30 months you're likely winner, but I wouldn't put you off a couple of quid each way on Handiwork.
Yeah, that's fair enough. We've got a tweet in from mega fan Hattie Fuller. He's about to crush your world, Adam.
No.
Bertimont's been price-wise.
Oh, yeah, well, judges, aren't we? We both put the Druid's nephew up for the national, and we were sitting in clover until 5 out, and it all went. Oh.
Say it was Hattie that went for the Druid's nephew, not me.
Yeah, Hattie also went for the. Yeah, we were stood together watching the national. Oh dear.
Okay.
Sorry, Hattie. Oh.
My turn. It's a competitive race, this. So I want to say, well done to Gas and Golf last time, who finally got his win.
Hallelujah.
He'd been frustrating for a long time, but finally got his head in front. If that gives him any confidence, he could be going close. Again, he's run well in these kind of races before, mostly the Imperial Cup, which he's been placed in for the last 2 years, I think it is now. Others to note, I don't overly fancy Violet Dancer tomorrow. He's £8 higher than when he won the Betfair Hurdle. He's not going to get a soft lead again like he did that day. He ran well enough, I thought, in the County Hurdle when going fast enough throughout the race, and then he got made to look pedestrian by Wicklow Brave, who, in fairness, made the whole field look pedestrian, turning for home. That was a much tougher race that he's been assigned to this afternoon. But it's notable that Gary Moore, it's a long way to send a horse from his base down in Horsham up in West Sussex up to Ayr. He's only sending Violet Dancer as his one representative. So that's a long way just to send one horse. Leighton Aspel takes the ride because Josh is injured, Jamie's injured as well, and Leighton seems to be there. He also rides it a bit for the yard. Irving, I don't know. I like the horse. I've liked the horse for a while. I was a big fan of his as a novice, but he's just disappointed a little bit this season. He was very disappointing last time out, went second in the King. Well, wasn't it Kingwell? I was going to call it the Kingmaker then. Definitely wasn't the Kingmaker. Yeah, that is that, isn't it? I'm going to side with Sign of Victory. I think it's words that haven't been said too much this season, but I think Nicky Henderson's done well to resist running a Sign of Victory throughout this season. I know Adam isn't going to like that at all, but praise where it's due, that Sign of Victory is a faster ground horse. In the end, it got to the stage, well, I have to run him somewhere.
He ran him on soft ground, though.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but what I'm saying is he could have run him in the Betfair Hurdle. He could have run him in other big handicaps. He could have taken him to Cheltenham. He could have run him in the likes of the County Hurdle or something. He could have run him in the Champion Hurdle, but he's resisted doing that. And it gets to a stage in the season where you have to say, well, he's not doing anything in his box, so that's going to earn nothing. You may as well take him to a race course, get him a run, and if good ground does come about, then we've got a race fit horse. He hasn't run for 63 days now, because he has been disappointing at much higher levels in races that he probably doesn't really cut the grade at. But off a mark of 147, he could just still be well handicapped enough to win this on faster ground. Andrew Tinkler takes the ride because, yet again, another jockey is on the sidelines with Barry Geraghty. Nico de Boinville rides Cool McCavity, who is a huge cliff horse of mine across the years. For Nicky Henderson, he's off 10 stone 4. But I just think that a Sign of a Victory could still be well handicapped enough now that he's going to encounter faster ground. I think officially it's good soft in places. I'm not 100% sure about that really, because they're watering overnight apparently at Ayr.
Yeah, they're watering,
so is that like, I'm not 100% convinced it's really riding anyway. Good to soft in places. I'll give Cheltenham a mention as well. He's one that I've never really warmed to over hurdles. He was 8th in the county hurdle off a mark of 1:46. It's the same mark again today. I think he might be able to go close. He still looks as if he's got a big run in here, but he has been going up the handicap for some good runs in handicaps earlier this season, over the last 2 seasons really. Hopefully he can show a bit more off that current mark. But for win purposes, I would definitely be with a sign of a victory for Nicky Henderson and Andrew Tinkler. Moving back down to Newbury now for the 250, the Aon Greenham Stakes, Group 3, over 7 furlongs. It's the 2,000 guineas trial, won last year by Kingman. In second was the 2,000 guineas winner, Night of Thunder. Before that, we had Olympic Glory, Kaspinacher, and then the immortal Frankel won it in 2011. Whether we've got anything of that standard here, I'm not sure, but we do have some very, very live horses for the 2,000 guineas, and really, these are the last brigade that still have their bubble completely there, and nothing has really been hindered. We've got the likes of Bellardo turning up, Dick Whittington turning up, Estidcar turning up, Flaming Spear, Ivorwood, and you can even throw Too Cool for School into that, who was very impressive when we last saw him 210 days ago here at Newbury, beating a decent enough field where the form has been franked for that with the likes of Growl. So, Adam, my question to you, this is a very strong 2,000 guineas trial in my mind. Can any of them go on and win the 2,000 guineas though?
Well, Too Cool for School can't because he's a gelding. So you're hoping in that sense he's not going to win tomorrow, because if he's winning tomorrow, then the guineas is really up in the air. And you're hoping that something else will come into the mantle. But it's at the guineas trials I've seen so far, this is probably the best one. The Craven, we'll probably talk about a little bit later on, but really wasn't impressed with the Craven, especially with my fancy white leg. Ivorwood is your favourite, but I've had my concerns about him since last year, when Richard Hannon was saying that he was already the build of a 3-year-old, and then the concerns I had were even furthered on Wednesday when Richard Hughes, after he won on Cool Company, I think it was, or was it on Wednesday itself? Can't recall, but he said that the horse hasn't grown that much, which tells me there's not much more improvement to come from him. Now, with the ability he's already got, he could easily win this, but I still then, even going on towards the guineas, I'd have stamina doubts. So Ivorwood is just one I'd rather be opposing than be with. I really don't like Estidcar. I saw him in the flesh a couple of times last season, and he really didn't impress me. He will have had to have done plenty of growing over the winter to be considered, I think, for guineas. So he is one that you pushed me out of the room with him. I really don't like him. I don't understand why Bellardo is the price he is. I know he won the he was really impressive when he won the Dewhurst, and everybody was up in arms. Oh, why is he the champion 2-year-old and all this? The reason he's champion 2-year-old is because he's won the Dewhurst, which is considered one of the best 2-year-old races, and he did it so impressively. And they are judged on one performance, not on the whole season. Even then, he was still impressive at Newbury when he beat Hawkesbury. And the run where he was slightly disappointed behind Estidcar, you can forgive. So, at 7s, I think Bellardo is the value, in a way. Flaming Spear, I will talk about. He's only won a maiden at York, and he's plenty. I think there's plenty more to come from him. Just whether in a Greenham second time out he'll be ready to face his horse. I think he will be fit, and I think he'll be ready to race. But whether he'll be good enough at this stage, I'm not sure. Dick Whittington, the other Group 1 winner in the field, I'm not really convinced, but I remember at Royal Ascot last year, and I wasn't convinced by him now. I know he won last time out, but I'm just very lukewarm on him. Of the rest, Too Cool for School, if he could run well, but I don't want him winning. It sounds horrible. I do like the horse, but for Guineas purposes, I want him to be finishing 3rd or 4th, running well, of course. But your winner for me is Bellardo, actually, and I'd rather be. I don't want really much to do with Ivorwood, so yeah. Bellardo's your likely winner.
Yes, I do see the angle with Ivorwood, and will he stay? I think he probably will. The big worry I've got with Ivorwood, he's by Zebedee. Zebedee was a 2-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
Are his progeny going to train on? That's the main worry for me. I think Ivorwood's got more than enough ability to win this. He wouldn't even have to be at his best to really be winning this, because he was a very, very, very good 2-year-old. It has to be said on that. Muhara didn't finish all that far behind him last time out. You'd imagine at 20 to 1 Muhara, if confirming that form, could be a little bit overpriced. Saying that I don't really fancy Muhara tomorrow. I completely get your angle on Bilardo. A little bit of a worry, however, that the hood's come off. He won the Dewhurst with a hood on.
I don't know why they put the hood on. Maybe it was just to relax him, I think, in the Dewhurst. And now he's progressed over the winter. Maybe he's a little bit more relaxed, and that'll help him. We'll find out tomorrow anyway.
It sticks in your mind, though, just at the back of it, that they put it on for a reason, and there was a reason that they had the hood on. Now they've taken it off. How's he going to react to it? Obviously, he's had a long time to just get accustomed to, I assume, working at home without a hood on. But it just does stick in the back of your mind, although saying that, he's a very, very good horse. Estidcar, again, I completely get your worries about him. He just seems like he seems like a Glen Eagles, to be honest. He just seems a little bit lazy, just does enough in front. I thought he did very, very well to win over at Doncaster. The race was run completely against him, and although he was, at the time, considered the best horse in that field, I thought he did really well to win the Champagne Stakes, because a slowly run 7 furlongs really isn't something that he'd enjoy. And you look at the horses behind him, you've got War Envoy, who is good, not top class. Aces, again, good, not top class. Bilardo reopposes here. Rumkey, that we saw do a racecourse gallop earlier on at Newbury and Glen Almond. It was a strong enough renewal of the Champagne. So I think he's done very, very well to beat those horses off a slowly run gallop, because, as mentioned, would not have suited him whatsoever. Flaming Spear, you'd have to say it's a little bit around hype, but he did win his maiden very, very nicely. I know there's a few shrewd judges out there that do fancy Flaming Spear for the 2,000 guineas. I'm really struggling to say what's going to win this, if I'm honest. I'd love to just say Ivorwood, but at 13 to 8, I'd be a little bit put off with that. I'd be inclined to agree with you on Bilardo, really. Saying that, I was more of a fan of Estidcar last year. I think another year on his back will help him progress. But is a full brother to Tormore or a half brother?
Half brother.
Half brother.
He's not by Arakan, so
yeah.
Dark Angel. So
yeah, that's it. Tormore didn't progress immediately. He won the Craven, but as a 3-year-old, he didn't progress as was expected. Whether that's going to be the same with Estidcar, I don't really think it will be. I think Estidcar's got more of a mature attitude, which is nothing against Tormore, I should say that. But to take you on with Bilardo, go on. I'll take you on with Estidcar for Paul Hannigan and for Richard Hammond.
just physically, I didn't like him last season. He didn't look the part. It's like, compare him and Bilardo when they go on to be 3-year-olds. If you'd have said to me, you can only take one of them home, who would you take? I'd have took Bilardo home every day of the week. I just didn't like him physically, so not much to look at. So if you're there at Newbury tomorrow, and if he has grown, then yeah, he could be a threat. But I'd rather be more cautious on him than be very confident. Yeah, Lucky Bilardo. Yeah.
we have started a Twitter feud between the goats. We had Trevor the Goat tweet us saying, I think Fine Rightly will moonwalk to victory with Barbie Girl playing on the tannoy. That's an interesting one, that. And then we had Jermaine came back in swinging punches. Jermaine the goat chaser, sorry, saying, excuse me, who are you? And then Trevor comes back in saying we had a scuffle behind the enclosures at Southall, remember? So I think they've already had a fight. I don't know who won it. I'm intrigued, but good luck, goats. Let's get back to more serious matters once more. I think for the second time on the show. The 310 at Ayr, the Scotty brand handicap chaser, listed chase over 2 miles. Only the 7 runners in this, Adam. It's not short on class, though, with the likes of Dunraven Storm, who ran in the Arkle, Duke of Navan, who's a very high-class Northers himself, Yorkist, who's been in good form all season, and My Brother Sylvester, who, on his day, is a very good horse. It's an intriguing race, isn't it? You could sort of have a few angles at it, and you could also have a few fancies and not be called an idiot for making a case for one.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Your favourite is Duke of Navan, and he is the selection. I mean, he won first time out over fences, and he was impressive. But then he went to Cheltenham on really bad ground, and he was struggling when he came down at the last. And thankfully, he got up that day. It didn't look good for a while, and thankfully he's back. Last twice have been interesting because Brian Harding's looked to be trying to give him confidence in jumping fences, which he has. But then he's always felt that he's had enough to go by Just Cameron on soft ground. I'll give it that. And each time, Just Cameron has found more. And I thought that Just Cameron was a badly handicapped horse at Haydock. I think we all did. So you can imagine our surprise when he actually ran a really good winner. So I think that Just Cameron doing that gives Duke of Navan and pays him a handsome compliment. And I'm pleased they're here rather than the 2.5 race. I don't think 2.5 is trip. And off an attractive handicap mark of 139, he can track the pace that's going to be set by my brother Sylvester and Dunraven Storm, who will probably take each other on unless Richard Johnson takes a pull on Dunraven Storm. And then Duke of Navan, to me, would pick up the pieces. Dunraven Storm, he had a little winter's break, came back, tried to take on Undersown. You can't do that. And poor horse. And then he went to Exeter against Carrickmore, and he was creeping into it when he fell behind Carrickmore. But you just hope that his confidence hasn't been shattered, because he's a really... I like Dunraven Storm as a horse, but I just hope his confidence doesn't break. My brother Sylvester just go off in front, so you know that's going to happen. Strong Point has been running well of late, so you have to give him a chance. But I'd rather go with the progressive Duke of Navan rather than the rest of the field, so he's the likely winner.
I completely agree with Duke of Navan. If you'd asked me 2 seasons ago when he was still hurdling, he won the Moor Battle in really nice style. I'd have said that he would be the Arkle winner next year. I believe he had a couple of problems. He fell in the Moor Battle the year after when soundly beaten, and he looked as if he was going completely the wrong way. But fences seem to have rejuvenated him somewhat. He won nicely first time out this season. He beat Oscar Rock, didn't he?
Yeah.
Beat Oscar
Urban
Rock.
Him. Urban Him.
Another one. Another one. The other horse.
Yeah,
sorry, apologies for that. He beat Urban Him. And he looked as if he won it nicely enough. He's a proper 2-miler, though. Urban Him's a complete stayer. But then he fell at Cheltenham with one of the worst balls I've seen in a long, long time. Thank God he got up from it. But then since then, he's just been a little bit disappointed. He's been finished, as Adam said, behind Just Cameron twice when coming there to really win his races. One time he was giving weight to Just Cameron. The next time they were just off levels. Now, at the time, you were very disappointed in that. But then you have to take into account the Duke of Navan really hates soft ground completely. He just does not go on it whatsoever. He needs it really quite fast ground. Good to soft in places will be absolutely perfect for him tomorrow. It's the first time, he's getting back on good ground. I can see that really playing into his court. Plus, if you take the Just Cameron form literally, that we thought Just Cameron was potentially badly handicapped, 2 weeks ago, he bolted off a mark of 140 again in a good race. Now, Duke of Navan is running tomorrow off a mark of 139. I think that says it all. He could potentially be a 150 horse, in the mid 150s. He could just be that well handicapped. Nicky Richards has done well to restrain from running him at the likes of Cheltenham, at the likes of Aintree, because he had entries at Aintree in the 2-mile race. He potentially was scared off by Undersow. But I just think Duke of Navan is going to take all the beating tomorrow. He's carrying 11 stone 3 off a mark of 139. I can't see any way round Duke of Navan. I think he's the more than likely winner. Dunraven Storm, I just got a few too many worries about his jumping to be interested in him off top. Wait, but Duke of Navan it is for me. Duke of Navan it is also for Adam. That's about the 3rd time we've agreed as well.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
That's a big
I don't think we'll agree on the next race. I hope we don't agree on the next race. So
no, I don't believe we do. The 325 at Newbury is the Be Wiser Insurance Spring Cup, a handicap over a mile. Only 23 horses to talk about, Adam, in this race. And good luck.
Oh, thank you very much. Well, it's an interesting race. I had a fancy for it when the entries actually came out. I really liked Chattez, who won the Spring Mile at Donny, and he wasn't entered here, which is a shame. So he's not here. The second is here, Buckstay. I thought ran really well that day. And he looked for a moment as though he was going to do it before Chattez came there pulling double and duly shot clear to win. I think obviously he's got his chance. As is Gabriel, who actually won the Lincoln and is here as well. But he's been put up in the handicap. I'm not sure that off that mark he can win. There's 2 that I like in the race. The first one I like is Dream Spirit, who was a horse I actually liked last season when he won his maiden at Newmarket. He beat Maiden Love, and he went on to win another handicap, and then was disappointing behind the legend, and we can say legend, that is Dark Emerald, who has done so well out in Maidan for Brendan Powell. And then he ended his season last time out at Pontefract behind Maharib. But I just think this looks like a typical William Haggis plot where he's aimed him at this race first time out. A bit similar to Monjol, but I like this horse going forward, and I can also see improvement when he steps up in trip as well. He is one I like, and the second horse I like, and I'm back on the cliff again, I'm afraid. But Red Avenger, pull me off the cliff, Luke, please. He just got okay, right. He's got first-time cheek pieces tomorrow. The ground is right for him. He won the Betfred Mile at Goodwood when he had first-time headgear, which was blinkers. He ran all right, actually, last time out at Lingfield, and I think they've been waiting for a turf handicap on decent ground, and this is the first place they can go. Graham Lee is booked at 25. Is that not? What?
Sorry, interrupt. Last time out was at Chelmsford.
At Chelmsford, I beg your pardon. He ran at Lingfield too, so that was it. Sorry, yeah. Last time out was at Chelmsford in the handicap where he didn't get into it. Yeah.
The what?
Last time was at the Chelmsford handicap where if you held up, you don't really get into races. I don't like Chelmsford on the track.
Maverick Wave just made an absolute mockery of that race anyway and won by about 15 lengths.
He did, yeah, but he did. But the thing is with Chelmsford, it's front runner's track, and if you held up there, you have to be on a seriously good horse to be winning. Yeah. But with him back on turf on decent ground, I think 25s is a big price. And I remember it was Callum who said to me, "You should like Red Avenger next time." I'm thinking, no, Callum, I'm not going to. But I actually do like him tomorrow, and I think he could win a big race.
One thing I will say in Red Avenger's, one thing I will say in Red Avenger's core is the last time they did try headgear on him, he won first time out with blinkers at Glorious Goodwood when he beat Heavy Metal, which was devastating for me. But they're trying something different now. Yeah, more devastating for me. It could just be that he is a horse that needs a little bit of changing every once in a while. So it'll be interesting to see how the cheek pieces work on him. And if they do work, then he could be going very close at a nice enough price. Graham Lee's definitely not a negative jockey booking anyway.
No, he's not. That's a positive for me. So it's like, as I said to you at the end of last season, I would not be getting back on the Red Avenger cliff. But unfortunately, for this race, he's got his conditions. And at that price, he's worth a couple of quid each way. So if he wins tomorrow, it'd be great because I've backed him. So yay! I'd like to win some money from him.
Yeah, he definitely won't win them, will he? It's a very, very tricky race, isn't it? I remember last year I was really keen on Charles Camoin, and he ran all right. This year, not really hugely keen on anything. Buckstay, I think, will run well. He's a short enough price to do so. However, Jim Crowley, pardon me, takes the ride, which puts him up £8 effectively. Went up £1 from his Doncaster run. Tom Marquand was taking £7 off, so effectively he's £8 higher. But he does have a professional jockey in the saddle, as opposed to Tom Marquand. No disrespect to him at all, but it's a bit of a tougher ask for Buckstay, who did run very well last time. I think he just bumped into one in the shape of Chates. AR's a horse that I've liked a lot in the past, and he's never really done it. I think 7 furlongs will be his trip. He was very unlucky in the Hunt Cup last season when completely taken out by Nice of You to Tell Me. He plugged on quite nicely, I think, for 5th that day. So he ran well just by knocking on the door. He's never really gone through and won a big handicap that he's promised to do. For Mark of 96 now, that's well enough, but he does need to go out and do it. Frankie Dettori takes the ride for Luca Kamani. Jack's Revenge will be another one that will have entered a lot of people's notebooks. Just a warning of the last time out in the Lincoln, that'll be when he came 7th. Just a warning about Jack's Revenge. He always does that. Jack's Revenge will not go past and will not go into the lead. So
just like that night.
You have to take Jack's Revenge with a pinch of salt. He's a very, very, very talented horse, but he's very hard to get it from him. Jamie Spencer rode last time. James Doyle's taken the ride this time out, so there's no negative there whatsoever. However, he doesn't go past the front lot. He will be travelling very strongly, though. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. He'd be a decent each way price, actually, about 20 to 1. I can see Jack's Revenge running into the places. Gabriel won the Lincoln very, very handsomely. Good ground seems to be the making of him, and the fact that they ran over ridiculous distances and his handicap mark came tumbling. That handicap mark is now returning to a somewhat reasonable mark, but he could still be well handicapped in this sphere. Of the ones down at the bottom, I don't know, really. There's nothing that would really catch your eye from the bottom. the horses lower down in the handicap. Santa Fizio, you'd imagine, would be aimed more towards Ascot once more in one of the big handicaps there. So you'd imagine this would just be another prep run. He's been in decent enough form on your weather, but needs to take a significant step forward for that. Saying all that said, I just come back to Bucks Day. I agree on you, Adam, with you, Adam, on Red Avenger. If I'm perfectly honest, that cheap piece first time, Red Avenger could go very well. But for win purposes, I'd imagine the best bet would be Bucks Day. Just a couple to throw in each way prices, really, Jack's Revenge and Red Avenger. So it's a complicated race. I think there's definite value to be had with, as mentioned, Red Avenger 25s, and I think Jack's Revenge is about 20 to 1. So they're two fair each way bets, but I think Bucks Day will take a lot of beating. Are you happy that I agreed with you on your Cliff Horse, by the way?
I'm not bothered.
Not bothered. Okay.
I hate Cliff Horses. He was the ultimate Cliff Horse for me last season. I backed him at every start. I got to the John Smith's Cup and I gave up with him. And then he had to win at Goodwood. Shut up.
Yeah, he did.
Anyway, he beat yours. He beat your handicap bet of the week at Goodwood. So I don't know what you're laughing at.
Shut up. Let's go back to Ayr before this gets ugly. The Coral Scottish Grand National handicap chase is up next. The grade 3 over 4 miles and 110 yards. 31 runners go to post, Adam. It's, again, a very, very tricky race like the English counterpart last week. Has this been a happy stomping ground for you in the past, the week after the Grand National?
It's a mixed bag, this race. And sometimes I get it really right. Most of the times I get it really wrong. There's 30 runners, incidentally. The reason it says 31 is because Benvolio was withdrawn.
Yeah,
and
apologies.
Got in. Fair play to Paul Nicholls as well for making his decision early rather than wait till tea time today and then go, oh, no, we're not going to run. So fair play to Paul Nicholls on that. Your favourite's Gallant Oscar, in the form of his Cheltenham win, well, it was hopefully going to get a really, really good boost from the Druid's nephew in the Grand National, but it didn't. So, but he was going really well anyway. I think the step up and trip will really help him. I know McCoy can't ride because he can't do the weight. Paul Carberry is a very able deputy, and he deserves to be favourite, and will probably be my main selection in the race. But you look through the race, and to me, it's not the best renewal. You've got horses that won't stay, you've got horses that don't jump very well, and you've got badly handicapped horses. And put all three together, it's although my other selection is a horse that is actually near the top of the weights, but I'll come on to him in a second. Broadway Buffalo, one of Callum's Cliff horses, I don't think jumps well enough, and is given a great ride by Katie Walsh in the National Hunt Chase behind Calls of Courses, and he'll go well, but the trip will be fine. It's just if he jumps, that's the main concern. Alco, well, the fear about him in the National, it wasn't really his fault. He came off at the first. He jumped it fine. Eli Brown fell next to him, and then Dennis O'Regan sort of went out the side door. So it wasn't really his fault he fell. But the fear I had about him there, I didn't think he'd jump round. But here, with Sean Bowen on, I think he's got a big chance as well, again, to go and do the double. It's just whether the exertions of Aintree haven't taken too much out of him. I think he was there. Yeah, he was there with the field when they went out on the second circuit, and he ran back off. So he shouldn't have really done too much. Sayo Success didn't stay for me in the 4 mile. I was a big fan of him before that, and I don't get why over here. I don't think he'll see out the trip in a truly run race because they didn't go that quick in the 4 miler. I know he looked like he was going up and down on the spot, but for me, he didn't get home. Of the rest, Trust and Times doesn't jump well enough. I know he was third in this a year ago, and it's probably been laid out for it. But I really don't like him. Indian Castle, I don't think will stay. Life for it is too high in the handicap. Drop Out Joe, I could give a mention to, but I think me and you both have the same concern, which I'll let you talk about. The one at a bigger price I actually did like, if 4 miles is going to suit him, I know he's second top weight, but Ublon de Zobo hasn't really been disgraced this season. I know he didn't run very well in the Gold Cup, but the Gold Cup seems to be working out really well. I mean, many clouds came out and won the National. Silvaniaco Conti's come out. Holywell ran well. So the Gold Cup is really working out well. I think the trip, it won't be an issue for him. The drying ground maybe, but over 4 miles on drying ground, I think he'll be okay. And with Aidan Golden taking the ride, I think 21 is a big 25 to 1, I beg your pardon, is a big price. Any real outsiders that I like? Cape Tribulation, he was second in the Roll of Merit, but he was one that I had in mind for Aintree, but he hasn't been running well of late. But this could be a plan for him.
He needs softer ground. Game tribulation, sorry to interrupt, but he needs softer ground. Cheap pieces first time are very interesting on him though.
That's an interesting point to go with him. Guniella, I think, even though he's by presenting, I think the ground will be too quick for him. He's one of the rare presentings that really like soft ground. So he's not for me either. And of the rest, Raz de Marais wants about 6 miles. So your likely winner is actually the favourite, Gallant Oscar. I'm going to keep it really simple with him because I just think he's got scope for improvement at the trip, and I think he's the one to beat. Houblon des Aubers at a big price. He's definitely worth an each way bet.
Yeah, I've got 2 that I fancy in the race. One of them is out the handicap, only by £2. It's not the end of the world. He's also been handicapped higher than that, or rated higher than that in the past. It's Dropout Joe. He was rated 138 if you go back, I think, 3 runs ago. You've got Gavin Sheehan riding tomorrow, which is, yeah, okay. I don't mind Gavin Sheehan. It's just a bit suspect lately. I just wanted to get his confidence back. Really, obviously, he had that massive high at Cheltenham, winning on Cole Harden. Just a little bit of a concern as of late with his form. But I thought Dropout Joe ran a huge race last time out. It was in the Grimthorpe, wasn't it, behind Wayward Prince. Now, nothing really got into that race. It was just left to Dropout Joe and something else. Who was that? Night in Milan. Yeah, sorry, to try and pick up the pieces behind Wayward Prince. They never really landed a blow, but Dropout Joe, for an inexperienced chaser, made some really nice ground from a long way back as well. He jumped well enough that day. He has got a tendency to make 1 or 2 mistakes, but stepping up to a really searching trip like this 4 miles around Ayr, I can see that really playing into his hands. I saw earlier on in the week, I saw he was about 28-1 for the Scottish National. I thought that was just a ridiculous price, albeit you have to take into account he is £2 out of the handicap, which doesn't really worry me that much, if I'm perfectly honest. So I thought for Charlie Longsdon, hopefully he'll get further than Charlie Longsdon's representative in the English National last week with Eli Brown going at first. But I just think that a really stamina-sapping 4 miles around Ayr will really suit Dropout Joe. So again, out of the handicap, but it's not really a concern. And the other one is at a bigger price is for Sandra Hughes. Brian Cooper taking the ride on Raz de Marais, which Adam mentioned needs 6 miles. I agree with that. He stays very, very strongly, but every single race, or every single Scottish National that you watch, they are leaden-legged turning for home. Now, he's going to be picking them off 1 by 1 from the back of the field. He got a very good ride from Paul Carberry in the Midlands National when finding only Guniella too good, and it takes a good horse to beat Guniella on soft ground. This ground won't be too much of a worry for him. Off a mark of 139, I think he can do a bit of damage with more each way prices, really. I can't see him winning it, but I can see him going close and filling one of the places, if I'm honest, with Raz de Marais. So 2 at bigger prices to take into account there, Dropout Joe and Raz de Marais. Of the others, don't really appeal to me too much, but one for the future that you should put in your tracker will be Royal Player. I don't really get why they're stepping up to 4 miles. Philip Hobbs said earlier in the week it's more of a case that they haven't had anywhere else to go, that we haven't seen him since the Sky Bet chase. That was 84 days ago. He's a very inexperienced chaser still. He's only 6 years old, but he's definitely going in the right direction. Just 4 miles at this point in his career, I think, might be a little bit too much for him to cope with. So for me, Raz de Marais and Dropout Joe being the main selection of the 2. Adam, for you were with Houblon des Aubers, weren't you?
Each way, yeah. Gallant Oscar's your likely winner.
And Gallant Oscar as the likely winner. Finally, it's been, 8 races, has it?
Yep, 8 races, yeah.
8 races, and we're finally through. We're finally through it. Which brings us round to your last chance to send any question, fancy, opinion about the Grand National in last week, or read them out at
The meeting.
The what?
Or the meeting itself.
Yeah, or just the entry meeting itself. If you're going racing tomorrow as well, let us know. If you've got any fancies, any tips for us tomorrow, let us know, and we will read them out about now. As soon as I find where our first tweet that came in was. It was from Megafan. It was from Harriet. First time I ever called her Harriet as well. She's gone for Flaming Spear, already backed Flaming Spear for the Guineas as well. So a big statement there from Hattie. A massive soft spot for Tiggy Wiggy, as I think we all do. Thinks she'll stay and stay well. That's a very bold comment there, Hattie. But Jellicle Board, big threat. and most likely to pick up the pieces, if not at her best. I think we agree with those sentiments, really, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I'd agree with those sentiments.
Yeah. Jim Gilch has sent in an interesting one. It's more of a tip, really, because I haven't looked at the Navan card. He said Navan mightn't be high on your list, but black spot on off 55 is interesting in the 440. 9-1 after hurdles, grade 2 effort behind the dig out, which is fair enough form because the dig out's been in flying form along this season. So good luck with that, Jim. Sam Lovell has tweeted in saying, gallant Oscar and Sam winner for me tomorrow. As for last week, a case of what could have been with Sol. Ran a blinder to finish 9th after bursting a blood vessel.
Yeah.
The Drew's nephew is also looking great before just to twist the knife in that wound, Adam.
To be fair to Sol, I got him completely wrong. I thought he'd get outpaced, but he was forcing the pace of Portrait King with the circuit to go, which is a bit...
Yeah, no.
With the National, the time was really good, but they didn't look to be going that quick, if you get what I mean.
It was Simon Rowlands put up I think it was an article. I haven't read it. I've only heard about it. I have to confess that. But it was the second fastest national in history, I think, behind Mr. Frisk.
Yeah.
But they were finishing one of the slowest in history. So that point,
look to be going that quick. When they came past for the circuit to go, they didn't look to be going that quick visually.
No,
So,
apparently they were going breakneck speed, but they just finished very, very tired.
Yeah,
it's fair enough. It's a good observation from Simon Rowlands as well. Does great work with sectionals in many spheres as well. Actually, now he's taken the national. Lee Armstrong's tweeted in just Gooniella. Just give up, please. It's best for all of us. Chris Heath has tweeted in saying, "Who blunders over 25-1 for the Scottish national? A notebook course, so I have to back. But what are your views? You can't say a bad thing about who blunders over, can you?
No, or Oublon Roublé. Yeah, you can't say anything about him. Oublon Roublé, yeah.
But we know carrying big weights isn't beyond him. He ran a blinder in the Hennessy to make him out to be a very, very good Hennessy as well, with the likes of Many Clouds, Jackadam, Smad Place coming out of it. We haven't seen Mary King in a long time.
I thought the Hennessy was a really bad race at first, wasn't it?
Yeah, apparently so. That's what I heard anyway.
I heard it was a poor Hennessy, the worst ever.
One of the worst ever.
Grand
looking
National
like one of the
best. Got second. Really good Hennessy, so yeah.
Looking like one of the best Hennessy's, I'm not going to lie. But Hoobland is over, I think, will run his race once more. 4 miles will seem to suit because he doesn't really have a trip that's too far for him.
Yeah.
Not too far. Keith Nicholson in next. Do you think Jellicle Ball will win? Sorry, I'll rephrase that. I'll rephrase that, and I'll read out what he's actually written instead of trying to put words in his mouth. Do you think Jellicle Ball will run in the Guineas if she wins? I think she'll run in the Guineas regardless.
Yeah, if she runs well.
Yeah, unless she completely bombs out, which I can't see happening, but...
that's a good question, yeah. I think she will run in the Guineas.
Yeah, I think she will as well. I'd be surprised if not. I think the Oaks will be more her target for the season, though, with Jellicle Ball. Good luck if you're backing Jellicle Ball. Keith, Harry Doman in next. Fancy Sea Lord each way in the Scottish Champion Hurdle. Thoughts? I couldn't have Sea Lord, if I'm perfectly honest.
I thought, I remember him at Cheltenham last year and he finished second to the Liquidator and he wasn't blowing that day. And I thought, if he comes back in a similar vein of form in March, April, he'd be best, but he just hasn't. So I really don't like Sea Lord.
No. I thought 2.5 would suit him really well, but nothing.
But
maybe he just hasn't returned to that good form that we saw him in. But if he does return to that better form, then every chance that he runs well. So good luck with Sea Lord, Harry. Jeff Handley has tweeted us in as well, saying, in the Spring Cup at Newbury, back 2 from the Spring Mile at Doncaster, Buckstate at 8-1 and Mr. Music at 33-1. Both eye-catching. Completely agree with Buckstate. And good luck with Mr. Music. Jeff, Play to Win, has also tweeted us saying, this is a good question as well, actually. I do like this one. Saying, what horse do each of you like who's running tomorrow but is one for the future as regards to the Guineas trials? For him, he's mentioned a few, Jellicle Ball, Flaming Spear and Ivorwood. For the future, who would you take out of the races if you could only choose one from the Fred Darling and the Greenham?
Jellicle Ball should be the one I'd be taking every day of the week. But if I had to take one from each race, I'd take Flaming Spear from the the Greenham.
They're the obvious two, aren't they? Because they're so unexposed. Jellicle Ball's the obvious, but more than obvious one. She leaps off the page at you in the Fred Darling for the horse for the future. For the Greenham, I'm not overly sure, to be honest. I probably would take Flaming Spear just because he's still got that level of being unexposed. I'd rather answer the question after the race, to be honest, but we can't do that. So, Flaming Spear would probably have to be that one as well. That, as far as I can see anyway, unless I've missed anyone, which I apologise, that'll be the last question or fancy that we have tonight. Unless you send them in very quickly, which leads us through, Adam, to nap time. Who's your nap for tomorrow?
Oh, well, it's one of the last races of the day, with 7:55 at Nottingham. One of my handicappers to follow makes his handicap debut, called Atalan. In a 1.6 mile handicap, he's off 57. I think he's a backable price, and I think he should win. So, yeah, he's going to start his journey in handicaps, and let's hope it's a winning start.
Good luck with that. You've been doing all right with the flat horses to follow, haven't you?
I've not. I really haven't. Apart from Territories and Dissolution, I can't really count AD Eli because I didn't really write about her, but most of them... most of them tend to lead the one now. Yeah, Lady Eli, let's not talk about that. It's good to mention her, though. She's a turf horse in America, so... Yeah. But Territories was really impressive at Longchamp, and Dissolution, he needs further, but he did it, so...
Yeah.
White Lake really disappointing. I can put a finger on that.
Question. We've had one last question quickly sent in from Kai Wills. So well done, Kai. Usually you're the first one, Kai. I have to say. Disappointing this week, not going to lie. Bit slack. He said Glen Eagles for the Guinness boys. He's gone for Guinness instead of Guineas. I think autocorrect got him there. He's gone. Glen Eagles is going for the Guinness apparently. Clearly the winner, no decent opposition. To be honest, I really want to keep taking on Glen Eagles because I don't think he'll win a Guineas. But I'm running out of horses to take him on with. If Callum were here, he'd tell you about a horse called Cody Bear, who, for Clive Cox, is in fantastic form, finished second in a Dewhurst behind Bilardo last year. He's got some good form to his name. You just haven't seen him this year, which is somewhat of a worry with Cody Bear.
Clive Cox is certainly happy with him.
Yeah, exactly. But going straight to the Guineas is a bit of a worry, personally. But he's still available at bigger prices, so Callum would tell you to go towards Cody Bear. So that is that for Kai's question. My nap for tomorrow, I need to remember what race it's running in. 2:35. No, it's not 2:35.
On Glen Eagles, quickly, whilst you're finding that race. Maybe he has been on the Guinness. With the last twice he's been hanging across the track, maybe that's what's been impeding him. So
it's possible. It's possible. He just looks more like a lazy horse that just about does enough. I found it. I found the race. The 3:10 at Ayr. Duke of Navan is what I'm going for. I think he's an absolute certainty tomorrow back on faster ground. I always thought he'd make a really high-class chaser. If he's not winning off a mark of 1:39, I'll be absolutely devastated on how wrong I was with Duke of Navan. But it's happened before. I am wrong quite a lot, actually, in regards to most things in life, not just horse racing as well. I'm multi-talented in that respect. Thank you for joining us tonight, Adam.
No worries.
Callum would have been here,
next week. I'm looking forward to next week because it's the final time we'll be talking about a certain AP McCoy riding for the final time, which is going to be a bit surreal.
Be a weird one, won't
it? It will be, yeah.
But we'll look forward to Sandown next week. I think both of us are in attendance, aren't we?
Yep, the badges turned up. One more thing I just want to quickly say. My highlight of Aintree, apart from the Grand National and the races over the national fences, Safi the Rail was an absolute monster in the novice chase, and if he progresses the right way over fences, he's thrown his hat into the Gold Cup mix, and I've already backed him for the Gold Cup, so I'm very excited about him.
We should also, before going off air, mention well done to Ryan West, the winner of the sweepstake for the Grand National.
Yes. He tweeted the picture. Well done to him.
He has won the David Ashford signed copy of his book, so well done to you, Ryan. I hope you enjoy it, because it's a very, very good read as well.
Yeah, and one other little quick thing with him, condolences to Ballyhollow. He had a share in her, the mare from Rebecca Curtis's yard, who sadly died of colic. So condolences to the Diamond Racing Syndicate there. She was a lovely mare as well. So she was a massive mare. She made a good chase, so it's a shame there.
My horse ran against that.
You did, yeah.
Me and Ryan had a little bit of a Twitter off on that day. He tweeted saying I've got a share in a mare in that race as well. So I think we beat him that day. But condolences to that, Ryan. Sorry to hear that about your lovely mare. But that brings us to the end of the show. We hope you have a good day of racing tomorrow, and we hope that the Guineas picture is a bit clearer at the end of the day tomorrow, because by God, we do need it, don't we? We also hope that you have a good day of punting. Good luck at Ayr, good luck at Newbury, good luck wherever else you're betting. Join us next week for On the Other Hoof, when we're back at our usual time covering Sandown for hopefully, well, it will be the last time that AP McCoy graces our race course. Until then, good luck and goodbye from everyone here at On the Other Hoof.